voices. So, welcome everybody. Warm welcome back now for some of you to our final 2025 AI for Good masterclass run by Changemaker Exchange as part of our initiative helping young changemakers navigate the world of AI. So, it's been quite the journey that we've been on, many of us together now. We've looked at over 5 different sessions in this last month. We've looked at the promise and the opportunity with Jacek. We've looked at getting very practical with Odin. We've looked at the ethics and the guardrails with Kaula. We've counted the carbon cost and looked at the environmental impact with Sasha. And today is going to be all about the people. And the question for today, I think, is in this AI race that is going on at the moment, crazily, who is getting left behind? And to help us dig into that a little more, look at things like the digital divide, like algorithmic bias. We're super happy to have Zamina Ahmad with us today. And the flow, I'm going to very shortly hand over to Zamina. But the flow will be, we're going to do a very quick welcome, little interactive activity. We're then going to have some insights from Zamina and a bit of a presentation, and then have the chance for a moderated Q&A where you'll get the chance to add your own thoughts, questions for Zamina. We also want to give a shout out to our partners, EY and SAP, supporting this whole initiative, and also for their leadership in the space. So, as we're getting started, I'd love you now all to just for a minute go to gallery view. So if you go to the top right corner of your Zoom room and then press gallery there, I'm going to ask a few questions to see, just get a sense of where you're at in terms of inclusion and AI. And I'm going to ask you to do that by using the Zoom reaction button. So you can choose, for example, the heart reaction or the thumbs up. You can choose whatever you want. If you go into the react at the bottom of your screen, and if this is you, then I will ask you to react. So we can see on I will read out a sentence. If that's you, use the reaction button. So the first one, I'd love you to react if you've ever used ChatGPT or a similar LLM to write something, but then deleted it because it sounded way too American, too corporate, or just didn't sound like you at all. React if that is you. Okay, most people there, I think this cultural flattening that's going on and erasing creativity and local nuance a little. I'd like you to react if you identify as a woman in leadership. Okay, great. We have some there. And I ask this because at the moment, if you prompt an AI for a CEO or leader and ask it to generate an image, 90% of the time it will generate a man, unfortunately. I would like you to react if you speak a language that LLMs or that the internet in general is bad at translating, where the translations always feel wrong. Okay, interesting. Thank you. I will ask you if you would like, if you react, if you've ever needed to turn your video off in a call because of your internet connection, for example, if you've had to turn off your webcam at some point. Okay, many of you. Yeah, and just a reminder here as we talk about this AI race and inclusion, etc., just a reminder that 1/3 of humanity are still completely offline and do not have access to the internet, currently around 33%. Last two, I'd love you to react if you personally pay for a pro or premium AI account. Okay, we have one, two, three, four, close to maybe a third of people. And just a reminder, I think there that there is also an emerging kind of payment and class divide, and that the best, safe, smartest are increasingly becoming behind a paywall. So also questions there on access. And finally, I'd love you to react if you'd like to see a more inclusive AI technology being built for humanity. If you'd love more inclusion in this space. Okay, thank you. And I think that sets us up nicely for today's presentation. That's something definitely we all want to see, and super happy to have with us here a real expert in responsible, fair, inclusive AI, 15 years experience across data and machine learning. I think couldn't be anyone better to give us input now, and I'll hand over to Zamina. Floor is yours. I'll also invite anyone, if you have questions for Zamina, you can drop them directly in the Zoom chat for today as we go, and you can react to each other's questions also with thumbs up or heart or however you like. Floor is yours, Zamina. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Nick. So let's get started. Let me share my screen first. And then set me up. I think you should see my screen now. I also want to open the chat so I see what you ask me. And I start with the exercise as well. So before we go into the content, I have prepared a little exercise to demonstrate how algorithms work. And for that, that's easy for you. Just use the raise your hand button now in Zoom. So I want everyone to raise their hand. Waiting, yeah. Okay. So what is happening now? Everyone, almost everyone raised their hand. So I will ask 3 questions. And these 3 questions are actually 3 parameters of an algorithm. What this algorithm does to you, I will explain later on, and then we will see, who will still stand or have the raised hand. Okay, ready? First question is, keep your hand up now if you currently live for rent. So if you live in a rented apartment or a rented house. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then second question, if you keep your hand up still, if you ever must have done multiple jobs at a time to make a living. Okay. And last and final question is, keep your hand up if you ever had an interaction with the police, so even without conviction. Okay. Okay, so for all who still have a raised hand, so these 3 criteria must are summing up. For all who still have a raised hand, thank you so much for this exercise. Don't move to Pennsylvania. So why? What is this algorithm doing? The algorithm is a case from Pennsylvania where a system was used to actually analyze more than 130 variables to improve child safety and preventing child abuse. But what happened was that family might was flagged as high risk for child abuse, and especially the ones who live in poor conditions. So the algorithm assigned each family a risk score. So high score, okay, investigation is triggered. Low score, no action. The score was based on housing, employment history, police interactions, what I just showed to you. And in many cases, the result was that the system blamed low-income families, which is not the original goal of the system. The result was even worse because Black families had a higher probability that they are going to be flagged as high-risk family. And families didn't understand what was happening, so they couldn't see algorithms' reasoning. And you actually create a stigma that you had no way to appeal the permanent label. The long-term harm was also quite terrible because families got denied services from other agencies. Children were removed from houses just because an algorithm said that, and some people and parents lost their jobs due to their investigations. In this session today, we want to understand why things like these are happening, and much more important, how can we do it better for future use when we build systems with AI support. So welcome to this session, Building Inclusive AI. My name is Zamina. I have 15 years of experience in machine learning, data science, and also AI systems. I build systems like things you know, personalization, recommendation algorithm. When you go on an online shop and you get these recommending things, customers who bought this also buy this and that. I also bought some routing systems for vehicles, autonomous driving systems, and also predictive maintenance systems in the renewable energy sector. Since 3 years, I founded my company Shades and Contrast, and Shades and Contrast is doing two things. We do AI trainings, so we educate people in building better AI systems, inclusive AI systems, but we also still build AI and machine learning products by ourselves. The focus of Shades and Contrast is a little bit in the name reflected. Our focus is to stand up for unbiased AI, to mitigate bias in AI, and to that reason, our clients are very much different. We have big corporates, but also a lot in the public sector because they have sensitive data and also a lot of responsibility. So coming back, AI and me, it's not only that I'm an expert in all these things, I'm also the blind spot. Because why? Only around about 20% of AI professionals on global scale are women. Secondly, that affects also how systems are built because AI systems favor female names, for example, in job scans, only to 11%. And as a woman of color, I also got even more disadvantaged by these systems. But there are more disadvantages in the systems built, like facial recognition error rates, medical misdiagnosis, and also in credit lending. So bias affects us all, but not equally. The system works for women only a little bit less, people of color, and also people with disabilities. What is bias? Just shortly, a definition. Bias means any kind of distortion. So it's a systematic, often unconscious prejudice in our data because we have maybe stereotypical perceptions. So our assumptions, how we see the world, are also based on stereotypes, and these stereotypes form the data. So we are talking about biased data, and these biased data in AI systems create discriminations and that lead to unfair outcomes. That's the definition. So you see it's like a staircase, and step by step from our assumptions and our assumptions and stereotypical perceptions, we lead to AI discriminations. The results of bias are different. Nick just showed it. When we prompt a CEO of a company, you mainly get this outcome. And the studies at the moment show that in just prompting CEO of a company, you get 100% a white person and 100% a male person if you don't say you want a female leader or something like that. So bias in AI has different consequences, and the reasons are complex. So the first example from the childcare safety system has different reasons than the prompting in LLMs, and also that I get disadvantaged advantages in the job scan has also different reason. So, and we want to first understand what are the reasons in order to mitigate the problem and build something better. So, how is bias in AI created? First and main reason is unbalanced data. I said it before. The models learn from our human-generated data, and it has some underrepresentation of certain groups. One example is also Alexa, so the Amazon voice system. If you speak to Alexa, you might recognize male voices better than female voices. The reason, the data set is mainly fed with male voices. So the frequencies of female voices are not so much reflected in this data set. How to mitigate that? Of course, we cannot always do it, especially in these AI days. But if you build something like that, you should check for data sets and first and foremost, test with underrepresented voices. One reason for bias in data. Second reason, it could also happen that the model is preferring some frequent connections and less connections are not so much reflected. One example is from banking systems. So banking credits, women and minorities, they sometimes get denied in loans, or they're given lower credit volumes, or they have higher interest rates, even when they have the same income as men, they have the same credit history, and they have same job stability. What is the reason why is this happening? Because the model is maybe having too much preferences on the historical data. And the historical data is showing, okay, in the past, men paid back their loans more reliable. Maybe men had more income. And this is a model design problem because the algorithm optimized for what usually happened in the past and not what is fair for us in the future. How can you mitigate that? Of course, if you are in this building and building models, you should compare models. But if you're on the consumer side, you can also require explainability and transparency and ask for why is that happening? Last reason is lack of human review. So sometimes we build the best data set, we have the best model design, but still bias is going to be reproduced because humans are not checking the outcome and the decision. One very famous example is from the US. They were trying to implement a penalty prediction. So you can see it here. Two persons, they did the same crime, but the person of color always got the higher penalty. You see it here in low risk and medium risk. So what is happening here? The bias in the data set was against the skin color, but also in the living area. How can you mitigate that? With humans in the loop, of course, people are checking the outcomes with regular audits and also remove discriminatory factors like living area in order to make sure that the outcome is fair. So now I represented you all these reasons. So what do you think about our opening example? So just to remind you, that was a system who should prevent child abuse and increase child care safety. More than 130 variables were analyzed. The result was not that childs were better protected. The result was that poor families has been punished. The three reasons I represented to you was it unbalanced data? Do you think that's the case for this system? Second, is it about the model design? Was the model design wrong here in that case? Or third, lack of human review. What do you think after these reasons? Any guesses? Model design and lack of human review, yeah. More guesses? All three? All three, yes. Exactly. So it's all three. So the data set, of course, poor families have disadvantages. So there is real discrimination in it. Second, the model design doesn't reflect or take that into account that there are existing inequalities. And yeah, no monitoring at all. So you should always figure out if this outcome is really fair, what is happening here. So all reasons in one system, and that's also the main message. I explained it now very separated, but bias in AI system that doesn't happen in isolation. It's the result of complex relationships between also statistical data sets and also ethical reasons, so real discrimination, real prejudices. So we cannot really separate that. It's both reasons, statistical and ethical reasons, that there are bias in AI systems. So the message is AI and also our data is never neutral. So it only shows trained patterns, who's being portrayed in which roles, who's missing. So AI models are increasingly shaping how we see people, bodies, and culture, but they do not mirror the world. They only reflect one part of it. So that's about to understand what is happening. Now that's my main message for today is for you. How can you build better? So what can we control? Because in what times do we live? We can't always fix the underlying data or the model design, especially when we use ChatGPT, Claude, or whatever AI systems. Those are created by big tech companies. But what do we have power in is how we use the AI tools, where do we deploy them, where do we implement them, and when do we need humans to intervene and also have a review about it. So, I want to present you today 3 practical approaches to build better AI systems. And these practical approaches are first, smarter prompting. How do you prompt better, more inclusive? Then second, if you want to have a better data quality and you think about supporting your startup, your organization with an AI system, how to increase the data quality. And third, how to build hybrid systems. Let's start with smarter prompting. And I think all of us regular prompting and using AI systems. So what is the problem? The problem is that each of our prompts generate average answers, so very generic outcomes. What is happening behind the system is that your prompt will try to reflect the average. So think about this data set. It's a normal distribution. And if you prompt very normal regularly and don't give any factors to it, it will just try to reflect the average. Negatively said, that's the bias. So if you ask for CEO of a company, white male man, that's the average we see in the world. So, but sometimes you want to have a full picture, right? Sometimes it's good to have the average, but sometimes you want a full picture. And sometimes you even have maybe an underrepresented group. So you want to see something on the side. So, what is the smarter prompting is based on a scientific paper just announced, I think in October, so 2 months old, is how to unlock diversity in LLMs. Is this example from the paper is tell me a joke about coffee. And the LLM has 4 variants, 4 different jokes, but what is happening is the AI system always gives answer A. So every one of us will get the same coffee joke. And that's not what we want. So the solution is that you just ask, give me 5 alternatives. And the large language model will look into the full picture because it will not try to only reflect something from the average, but also on the side. So, better prompting is a 5 variant technique. So ask for 5 different versions and you will get 5 different ones. It forces the AI to look beyond the average. It shows a full range of possibilities and it counters automatic bias. So you control this with every prompt. because every prompt is a choice you control, what you ask for, how specific you are. So always ask for 5 variants, name maybe also specific groups to include, specify diversity dimension, and this is the easiest way to start today, and it costs nothing and works immediately. That's practice number 1. Let's move to practice number 2, building better data quality. So the data problem. When we use standard AI tools like ChatGPT, it's trained on the entire internet. So that might be cool, but it also includes misinformation. It also includes harmful stereotypes, and it also includes maybe outdated advice. The problem is you have no control over it. So, and that's a problem. The solution for this topic is a RAG system. A RAG is a retrieval augmented generation system, and that's an AI that uses your knowledge. Think about you imagine you ask Wikipedia, that's ChatGPT, or you ask your organizational handbook. So very mainly specifically for you and also based on your knowledge. So that's the difference. So a RAG system is like a specific handbook for trained on your data, and that means also that you put in quality in and you also get quality out. How does it work step by step? Just imagine you build your own library. That could be Word documents, PDF, PowerPoint slides, whatever, and you build these documentations. You might maybe already have that. And you use a query and you ask for, okay, what should I do if I experience housing discrimination? Then the AI will also search in that created library first and then give you a very good answer. That's the 4 steps for a RAG system. If you want to imagine that in pictures, you see it here. So normally you ask, how do I do X? Then it goes directly to the AI system, to the large language model, and then to do is the answer. But if you have a database or a RAG system, it first goes to your knowledge base and will create the answer out of that, of the relevant knowledge. So this is something which many companies are implementing right now because it's really producing good quality and you have no hallucinations with it. One example to give you something where I'm working on is a chatbot for people affected by racism. And that's mainly a RAG system. So imagine I experienced discrimination for housing because I didn't get the apartment. I can use this chatbot to ask, okay, can I get a lawyer? What are my rights here? So it's really legally supporting me. And in this chatbot, that's not ChatGPT, it's a curated library behind it. And the chatbot creates an answer which is curated by legal experts and gives me advice for the German market. This is a live system. It's an impact startup from Berlin, and it really uses AI for good and also has a good quality for here. So I see a question. Maybe I jump onto that or maybe later on, Nick. What do you say?
Maybe this one you could take right away because it's very connected to that specific thing that you shared, which is, yeah, can the chatbot be trained to think different, to react differently to what the default is? So can it automatically give those 5 options if enough prompts like that come through, or is it always in that underlying settings?
So for the first technique is if you use an AI, I would recommend you for the moment always ask by yourself. So you cannot train the model at the moment. That's in the big tech hands. So if you use a tool, just you should ask for that. If you build a RAG system, for example, you could define that and say, okay, you have legal support here in that chatbot. Always give 3 options to the user. That's something where you have more control what the output is. I hope that answers your question, yeah? Yes, you are not alone, AI. Thank you, Nick. Exactly. That's a really cool case. So when should you consider RAG systems like that? Um, every time you want to build something very accurate, so factual correctness is very important. Then second, if you have specialized expertise, so in that case with Yuna, you are not alone AI, legal experts, you need legal expert, not the whole internet as a knowledge. And then if you have critical quality control, if that's something which is important. So you are not alone AI. Also, again, it shouldn't give any false advices. So more example applications, legal aid, yeah, that's something, healthcare support service, social services, educational programs, for example, but also crisis hotlines. The key here is that you control the knowledge base. You have access to that knowledge base. You just use the AI to be like a chatbot and form these conversations, but the knowledge which is based and is in your control. So this is a really good system to build something high with high quality. Then the last practical approach is hybrid systems. Let's move beyond that on the market discussion. It's not black or white discussion. It's not AI 100% or humans 100%. It's more, where do we need human uniqueness? Where do we need automation because it's a repetition task? And where can we build augmented systems? So think about that in more hybrid systems, not full automation. So, where do humans add unique value? Where can we systemize and automate safely because it's just repetition of task? And where is the decision too important that we shouldn't automate that? So, that should be always human. I have a 3-step approach for that. Automate means, okay, data, scheduling meetings, sorting documents, something like that. That's full automation. It's low consequence if it's wrong. Then we have second, augmentation, which means AI assists, but in final decision, the human takes the decisions. So AI can recommend, for example, something, suggest resources, flags maybe urgent cases, but in the end, the human makes a prioritization, customization, reviews it. And then human only means, okay, for example, complex ethical decisions, maybe also very deep in social sector trauma situations or final calls about vulnerable people. So that should be with high consequence, only humans should decide here. What is my example for you to imagine? It's a refugee case management. So think about a social refugee case manager. He or she handles 50 to 100 clients each day or each week. And the client needs housing, legal aid, language classes, healthcare, job. So it's impossible to track everything manually, and the decision affect people's lives. So how do we design now here a hybrid system? Let's walk through the 3 levels. First, what can we automate? Appointment reminders, right? Document sorting, deadline tracking, translation maybe of intake forms, scheduling any available appointments. So there is no judgment required. The consequence, if it's wrong, is very low. So it frees also the case manager in its time. Level 2, what is augmentation? So maybe the AI recommends something, but the human decides. So AI matches housing options, AI suggests language classes, AI flags upcoming legal deadlines, but the human decides in the end, adds context, empathy, individual needs, and AI handles all options and the data. What is human only? I think you can imagine understanding individual history, individual trauma, building trust, navigating also complex family conflicts, responding to mental health crisis, for example. So this requires a lot of empathy, communication, strong relationship. So that should be human only. This is about building more on a deep or on a wider level of organization, how to implement that in organization and how to build hybrid systems. So the framework for deciding is automation for repetitive administrative tasks, augmentation if the AI should maybe analyze and you as a human decide, and then human only if it's about people's life, cases with trauma and complex situation. Hybrid is better than one thing alone because AI can handle volume and also pattern recognition and also data. And we humans, we provide judgment, context understanding, empathy, and accountability. So these are the three practical approaches. You see, it's very different on different level, but I hope you can take something with you. So it's about smarter prompting, the 5 variant technique, increasing data quality with your own knowledge base, and also building hybrid systems. It comes in the end to one message I wanted to give you as a final message is AI needs our values. So I have an ethical compass, and maybe you want to know what ethical dimensions are behind that. Fairness, data protection, accountability, transparency, participation. So who gets access to our data? Who gets disadvantaged? Who decides? Can we understand the decisions? Who's responsible when something fails? So for me, especially bias and fairness is the question which I raise in every system I build. But maybe for you it's something different, or maybe it's for you sustainability. But what we need to do is we need to find out what needs our priority in our context when we build systems. Is it data protection or is it something else? So your ethical compass in action, maybe to connect it also with the practical approaches. Fairness is a 5 variant prompting. Building better data protection is the RAG system. Building accountability and also accountability. So is a hybrid system, and all three are reflected in transparency and also participation. And the final question I wanted to leave you with you today: where can AI help you and assist you? And what should stay human, human only in your organization? So thank you for listening, and let's jump on a discussion.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Zamina. Loved it. Thanks for both the very practical stuff and also for getting deeper, I think, to the core of some of the ethical questions here. I think that was brilliant. I have a few questions to kick us off. I can see 1, 2 in the chat. Other people also, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat for Zamina. I love the framework you created there. So that what should be automated, what can be augmented, what should absolutely stay human only. I think that's super useful. And at the same time, I think Silicon Valley companies and big AI are perhaps pushing against that framework and looking at building perhaps in this race for AGI for more and more general purpose AI that can do everything and that wants to form attachments with people and wants to for us to become more and more dependent on it. So yeah, how do you see that framework working against the race for more and more general purpose AI?
Yeah, I mean, we all experience that AI is not replacing everything, and this promise of, okay, you can now and also what is happening in the market is you can lay off your full marketing team because you don't need any people anymore, and you can fully automate it. We saw it in the Klarna case from Sweden. I don't know if you know that. They thought, okay, let's lay off our customer support, 700 people, and replace them with AI. And 2 months after that, what happened was that they discovered AI cannot replace everything. It can answer repetitive tasks and FAQs, but if you have a complex case, you need a human who understands the client request. So they understood fully that you can have a hybrid system, and at the moment we are living in that hybrid era. And I expect that we will have that hybrid era maybe for 3 to 5 years more until we have AGI. And I'm not sure what will be there, but I'm pretty sure that they are racing to this topic. And yeah, the future will be different, but I think the next 3 to 5 years is more about these hybrid systems because AI has limitations at the moment, especially in context, especially in empathy. But it can we can delegate already some tasks. So that's my view on it. So for now, I say hybrid systems, but ask me in 3 years again.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yes, we will do that. And are you worried about that those developments and moving away more and more away potentially from hybrid systems? And should we be fighting back against that?
I love technology, so I'm looking forward to any invention and innovation. Um, but I'm also concerned because hybrid systems means you have always something in your control. With AGI, you lose that control. And how do you now then, when AI systems are fully aware, fully decide something, how can you make sure that they decide from our values? Some people compare it with if you would have a child, like you need to explain our values, like you don't hurt anyone, right? So is that the best comparison? I'm not sure, but I am concerned, but I'm also looking forward to innovation and innovation. Invention, yeah.
Awesome.
AGI is
Thank
scary.
you.
I see it in the chat. It is scary. I recommend you for this topic, Scary Smart, the book, because I think it's from Mo Gadwat, The Future of AI and How We Can Save Our World. And he said, and I agree to that, it will happen what always happened. People will say, you should be concerned about this technology. No one will listen to it. Something bad will happen, and then we will fix it. That's the main core of human history, and maybe that could be the case with AGI as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much. Also, very highly recommend, although it's not going to scare you less, it's going to scare you more,
More,
to
yeah.
watch the recent podcast with the director of the Center for Humane Technology, Tristan Harris. He was on the Diary of a CEO
Ah,
podcast. It's 2 hours long, and it's pretty heavy, but it really goes into what can that look like, that future, and what we need to be doing right now. So yeah, super important topic. Thanks for bringing it. Want to go to the question from Brandy. I dropped the link to that one in the chat, by the way. What tips help users evaluate AI output for bias before using it? And how does the research offer guidance on how a person can test or check individual responses?
what tips help you before bias using it? Before bias before using it. So there are different bias testing systems which are open source. I'm not sure using it does it mean like a tool because we have if you have a data set, for example, you find open source tools like Fair Learn or something from Microsoft and also from IBM. They have open source tools where you can jump or um, upload your data and it will find bias in your data sets. That's when you do bias with data sets. When you mean more like does the research offer guidance on how a person can test or check the individual responses, I recommend also this paper which I showed you and the average. So there are new scientific papers on the bias in LLMs because our usage will move more into that directions rather than using machine learning systems. So I can send you the link maybe later on
Okay,
to
great.
this
I will
scientific
send
paper.
out any resources mentioned in the follow-up. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah, but
that.
for prompting, also try and test and iterate it because it's sometimes it's good to ask for specific diversity dimensions. And as I explained, it will always try to force you to the average. And if you have something in mind which is different, then define that. So that's a tip.
Okay, awesome. Maybe one next technical question, and then we go maybe to the more meta ones.
Mm-hmm.
Are by AI bias tool detection tools like we have here Google Fairness Indicators, are they
Yes.
effective?
Effective, yeah. What means effective, and also
That's the
what is
question.
fair? Fair, yeah. So I like Google Fairness Indicators. There are different tools, like I said. Also, Algorithm Audit had one. IBM had one. Microsoft had one. So I saw many of these bias tool detection tools, and we also used it. And I think it's good to understand that, but still, what effective means also what is fairness for you? What is fairness in this context? So you have to check that and evaluate the outcome here. But effective, helpful. I would say they are helpful and useful.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Also want to go to Catherine's question. I know with your work, Zamina, you do a lot of kind of consulting, work with different companies. When speaking to the leaders there, the executives, etc., how do you get that urgency across of ethical AI? What approach do you take to kind of persuade them that this is absolutely critical?
Good question. Because I'm shouting so publicly about fair AI that no one who is not convinced is not approaching me. To be honest, but the argumentation I see in our clients is either you have a lot of data, then you have a lot of responsibility. So I take that as an argument, responsibility. Then second, most of the systems underlie regulation. So it is different when you do use AI for marketing than if you use AI for healthcare system or social systems. So try to think in risk systems from the European AI Act. Is it affecting lives? Then it's really urgent that you think about ethical AI. Is it just text? Then it's low risk for the people. But even I convinced the marketing team because why? They wanted to have marketing pictures on international scale, and they said they don't want to reflect stereotypes in Saudi Arabia or Singapore. They want modern pictures. And then we did the training on diversity in marketing pictures, and this international company was, yeah, they was convinced about it. I hope that helps a little bit. But yeah, think about the risk system, what you build, and where do you want to implement AI.
Okay, thank you. And then also a couple of questions. I would also have one around unbiasing. So is it possible for AI unbiasing to be improved by their founding companies? Like what's needed for that?
What's needed for unbiased AI? So, I mean, unbiased AI is a little bit, yeah, promise maybe it depends, right? So it depends what do you want to offer. So in each context, unbiased AI is something different. I believe you always have some kind of bias, some kind of distortion. So yeah, what you need to bring is always a little look into the data set, a good human reflection, and at the moment, think about your values, the ethical compass. So, what is important in your context? Is it fairness, or is it more transparency? Is it more accountability, that you understand what happens when something is wrong? So I think first think about your values and what reflects in the systems. Maybe you have an example, Nick, for.
So, question from Deepak. I
Mm,
think so. I mean, I would wonder, like, and maybe a follow on question, like, it can debiasing AI, can it be like a bug we can fix? Like AI always learns from human history, and human history is racist, sexist, violent. Is an unbiased AI actually possible at all? I guess would be a follow-on question.
so the full version of debiased and unbiased AI doesn't exist. You can only fix it in specific task or contexts. So you will always have some kind of a structural um, inequality at some time, and also data sets are always having kind of a distribution. So the full fair unbiased AI probably doesn't exist. Yeah.
Okay,
But
thank you.
Deepak wants to say
You wanna
something.
you wanna
Yeah.
you wanna elaborate, Deepak?
Yeah, sure. Where I live in India, actually, the people over here they say that if the all the data that is being created on internet is mainly from more digitalized countries or more digitalized communities, then of course why are we blaming AI to be biased? It's the data because AI is taking out the data. So as long as the data will be there which is more from the digitalized places, then we can't have a unbiased. We have to work on the data set first rather than blaming into the AI. So that's why
Yes.
I was asking that if the tech companies really wish, can they work on the data set and make it unbiased if they really want to? Is it
Mhm.
feasible? Is it possible?
So, first of all, I totally agree what you have said. So, it is the data set, and the data set is created by the, let's say, digitalized northern countries, and we don't reflect other languages, for example. Yeah, like Nick raised that question in the intro. So, some languages are not really good translated, for example. Also, we see that in the pictures. We had an exercise, someone tried to prompt my person. I was always looking like a US citizen, not like someone from, I don't know, Pakistan, or you cannot prompt me. So that was really, really eye-opening. So yeah, it's in the data set, and we have really strong inequality here because what is happening is also that data labeling, so what data information is reflected on pictures is happening in Africa, India, Kenya, for example. And so they are getting paid very low for data labeling, and this labeled data will feed into the large language models, but the large language models only optimized for the digitalized countries, as you said. So there is a double inequality. The people are, data labeling is done in the global south, but then in the LLMs are optimized for the global north. So that's really a strong problem. Then second, if big tech really wants to, yes, I think we can increase the data diversity. I call it data diversity. So because it's really, yeah, too much English speaking, too less other languages. But I also know that in China and also in Africa, there are different organizations, mainly from universities, who are trying to build their own LLM, specialized and optimized for their languages. So maybe the question is here for me, do we build one big LLM for on global scale? Is that our approach? Or do we build local LLMs, and then they reflect also European languages better, African languages better. So there are two ways to approach and fix this problem. One big one or different local ones. Yeah.
And which way is the more ethical, value-driven, safe, inclusive way?
I think, to be honest, I'm pragmatic, so I think the local one is the one where you get more faster speed and also more alignment across the cultural nearness. So maybe it's better. And also, if I think about sustainability, local and smaller models are maybe working better and sustainable than a big one. And if I think about ethically, if you want to have an ethical AI LLM, think about the values. They are so different from country to country. How can we align? So maybe the future is about more local ones, but let's see. Yeah.
Okay, let's see indeed. Any final questions? Otherwise, I would have one last one to wrap us up.
Yeah, I just put one more if you want to take it in the chat.
Yeah. The double-edged sword. I'm always flip-flopping between whether I should generate as much data, yeah, to contribute or scrub everything clean to avoid. So that's also my conflict in my head. So the question is for us, right? Especially for people who are not so much good reflected in data. And I said it in my intro, I'm not reflected very well in the data. You cannot prompt me. I'm one reason. So what is the outcome for you on personal level? You give your data or you try to avoid it? I myself, because I'm building systems like that, I decided to give my data and be more on public space. I also have that ring here, which is the Aura ring, the health wearable, and it collects my data. Why? Because I know that in the future, in 10 years, we will have more AI systems understanding my medical signals. And I also want that it works for me. So I said to myself, okay, then let's share the data. And that's how I would like to increase the data. That's my outcome, but you should decide it for yourself if you want to avoid giving your digital data.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Also, shout out in the chat, and Sam, member of the Changemaker Exchange community, and has built a tool to control what sensitive data is given to the AI models. Do you wanna in a couple of sentences say what that is, Sam?
Thanks, Nick. Hi, everyone. Sam here. So Clip Shield essentially lets you control what data you give away to AI models when you interact with them by using a locally processed or running LLM on your device, so nothing gets sent to other networks to decide the stuff that you don't want AI models to see to be kind of redacted when you interact with the models. Give it a look and a try. I'm looking for beta testers. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Link
Sounds amazing,
in the
yeah.
chat. And for Natalie, who had actually asked about that before in a previous session, that one's for you as well. Okay, Deepak, I'm seeing your other question didn't get asked. I'm finding that super technical, so I think maybe we want to follow up on that via email. Zamina, maybe we can organize that one.
Yeah, I can
Further
also
up.
scan. Where was it, the question? But yeah, maybe we have a follow-up.
We'll follow up with that one if that's okay. And I suggest we wrap this with one final question. So I think many in the room, and you touched on it there, both you, Sam, Zamina, too, on that kind of dilemma on like what's the most ethical way, how do I protect my data, etc. And I think for many of us working in this whole social impact space, like there really is a dilemma. So people seeing the bias, the environmental cost, this centralization of power, the scariness of AGI, etc. And for some people, maybe instinct might even be to boycott AI entirely or to go out on the streets and protest, etc. But if all ethical change makers refuse to build with AI, doesn't that leave the most powerful technology in the hands of people who don't care about ethics? Like, what's your view on kind of what people in the social impact space should be doing here, Zamina, and in terms of should we be trying to actively shape this technology and how it's deployed?
Yes, I think that's my goal, that we actively shape the product development. Like we shared the example, You Are Not Alone AI. That's an impact startup, people affected by racism. How can you help them? How can you help them anonymized with AI? How can you help more people when racism is increasing? So the answer is not that we are hyping technology or use it naively. The answer is that we use it critically, because I believe especially the impact sector, the social impact sector, is a critical thinking and also engaged community. So we can build alternatives. We can firstly build open source models. We can criticize a lot that the language is not reflected. We can criticize that minorities are not reflected in pictures and so on. So we can be loud here, of course, and try to see what changes. And things are moving. So, for example, in Europe, we have this regulation, so policy building here. We think in the European AI Act in risk categories. So if it affects life, like we see on these examples from US childcare abuse, or the Netherlands with the welfare system when algorithm discriminates single mothers. So this is all regulated in Europe and needs to be transparent what is happening. So things are moving with our critical perspective, being skeptical. What the next step is to use AI for something good, like You Are Not Alone AI. How can it help you? But stay critical and think not in black and white. Think in how can it support you, but what needs to be human at the moment? What is our human judgment? So my answer is use AI, but we need your critical voices. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. I think that's an awesome point to end it on. Also loving your comment in the chat there, Catherine, that we must skeptically embrace this change. And yeah, let's be those humans in the loop that speak up, that hold people accountable for how the technology is developed, but also, yeah, take some responsibility for the destination that it takes. Thank you so much. That was both really practical and really inspiring. Thanks to everyone for being a part of both this session and the whole series in general. There's been some brilliant input and questions across this all. You'll get the recording from this one and all the resources linked. And yeah, we'll see you next year. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you so much for attending. It was nice meeting you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.